After 2 decades of dominance, the only man standing between LeBron and becoming the greatest player of all time is doing whatever he can to stop it, making moves that question the integrity of the league as a whole, even after his retirement. This is the LeBron GOAT Iceberg. I'm not here to convince you that LeBron James is the GOAT. That's an argument that is probably never going to end.
He the GOAT! He's not. Say it with me. He's not. He the GOAT!
This iceberg was created to break down the logic behind those arguments, but also to delve deeper into the conspiracy theories behind them that you may have never heard about. At the top, surface level, we have the most common arguments that you have probably heard before, so we're going to breeze through these. First, we have versatility. Yes, Michael Jordan was a better scorer and averaged more points per game than LeBron, but LeBron averaged more rebounds and assists throughout his career. And on top of that, he is the only NBA player to have been officially listed at every position, point guard through center, for at least a season. Following that, we have longevity, where LeBron has played not only the most games and the most seasons in the NBA, he's actually cooking right now in his 23rd season in the playoffs, but he has also passed Kareem for the most points scored ever.
LeBron James, a shot at history. LeBron stands alone.
On top of this, he has also proven that he can win with multiple different teams and franchises, having won with Miami, Cleveland, and the Lakers.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Which actually does bring us to our final entry on the tip of the iceberg, which is teammates. Yes, LeBron won in Miami with Chris Bosh and D. Wade. But he also won in Cleveland with no All-Stars, no All-NBA players, and no All-Defensive players, which Michael Jordan never did throughout any of his championships. He actually usually had multiple of these All-NBA, All-Defense, or All-Star players on the team when the Bulls won their championships.
No surprise, as Magic predicted, is the most valuable player.
Moving down into the shallow waters of the iceberg, we have expansion teams.
Then Toronto and Vancouver in some order or other to the new expansion teams. The exact orders 6 and 7 will be determined.
Expansion teams are an argument that I'm surprised doesn't get brought up more. People often will criticize Jordan for playing against plumbers and firemen, which he didn't do. That is a complete lie. But what he did play against were trash expansion teams. From 1988 to 1989, the league added 4 new expansion teams.
Because on this past Wednesday, NBA Commissioner David Stern announced that the Board of Governors had voted to add 4 new franchises to the league by the 1989-90 season.
The Hornets, the Heat, the Magic, and the Timberwolves. Then again, just a few years later in 1995, they brought the NBA to Canada, adding the Toronto Raptors and the then Vancouver Grizzlies.
For Toronto and for Canada, they woke the NBA up to the potential of the country and the city.
Now, if you don't know, in an expansion draft, a team can protect up to 8 of their players, and the rest of their roster can get drafted by these new expansion teams. And usually, these teams suck. They are terrible for the first few years. All of these expansion teams were coincidentally added right around the time Jordan was winning those 6 championships. Not only were these teams buns themselves, they also would make the league as a whole worse because they're diluting the pool of talent as it gets spread across more teams. And not to mention that because these rosters were changing so much throughout these expansion drafts, teams had worse chemistry and roster construction was less coherent. He was not playing against plumbers and firemen, but this definitely made his competition a bit worse. The next 2 entries both involve the finals. The first case is that of the AC incident. During Game 1 of the 2014 NBA Finals, the Spurs versus LeBron's Miami Heat, the AC went out in the Spurs' AT&T Arena. This made temperatures get up to over 90 degrees on the court, which caused leg cramps so severe for LeBron that he had to leave the game with less than 4 minutes left in the 4th quarter.
Good crossover by James, and on the landing, immediately cramps up.
It was a 2-point game before LeBron left, but in those final few minutes, San Antonio took complete advantage of his absence and went on a 16-3 run, winning them the game. But this one does just seem like a coincidence. It's just the AC going out. Until you look at what Jason Terry had to say. As a prominent NBA player at the time who had faced the Spurs in the playoffs in years prior, he told ESPN, "You know what? Pop has done that so many times, I don't know if it's a conspiracy. When you go to San Antonio expect something like that, and Miami fell victim to it. And making things even more suspicious, in a press conference after the game, Spurs head coach Greg Popovich joked about paying their bills to keep the AC on.
You know, both teams are going to be happy that we have a couple of days before the next game, and hopefully we can pay our bills.
And just so you guys know how far I'm going to find this evidence, this video has like 200 views on YouTube and is the only clip I can find from this part of the press conference. I've checked literally everywhere I can think of, so who's to say? Maybe it's under wraps, but regardless, I think that this AC incident is pretty weird. Granted, the Spurs did win the series in 5 after this, but if the Heat were to have taken both this and Game 2, who's to say what would have happened with that momentum? Our next entry is build a teammate. This is honestly a little bit more of that longevity argument.
The first father-son duo to play together in an NBA game.
But it is absurd to think about that right before LeBron's second season in the league, and a few weeks before I was born, his son Bronny was born. Now, 21 years later, Bronny is on his second year of playing with his father, LeBron James.
Like this. Let me see them hops. Show them your hops.
Wait, I gotta get it up there.
Yeah, tell them don't drop it. Let me see your hops. You got on boots though. Let me see your hops.
He basically built his own teammate, and a lot of people will say he is in the league because of nepotism. Yes, there is some nepotism in the sense that Bronny had more opportunities growing up, and his dad is arguably the best basketball player of all time, but Bronny is performing as expected, if not better than an average 55th overall pick. He is also probably the best player left in the draft if you look at the other players who were selected right after him, but that Bronny video is a thing for another day. Our final entry in these shallow waters is the finals fraud.
Hey, you only got 3 now. I get 6. How do I get that foul?
The asterisk that needs to be put on his 6-0 record is that he couldn't even make the finals because he just kept losing. In 85, he lost to the Bucks in the first round. He lost to the Celtics in the first round in 86 and 87. And then he lost to the Pistons in 88, 89, and 90.
Jordan held to 5 of 15 from the floor, just 23 points, only 11 in the last 3 quarters.
Then he three-peated and left to go play baseball. It's very impressive he did that, and that would be insane hating if I start hating on his baseball career. But he did come back to lose to the Magic in the second round, where he shot a bad 8 for 19 from the field with 6 turnovers to close out the series.
The basket is Jordan, about 3 moves, inside Longley, turnover.
And yeah, LeBron's finals record is worse than Michael Jordan's, but he could at least get there. LeBron was there 8 times in a row, again with worse teammates.
You get the feeling J.R. Smith thought they had the lead. He didn't know the score.
It took 7 years for Jordan to make it to the finals. LeBron got there in 4. Which brings us down to the depths of the iceberg, starting with the conspiracy behind Jordan's gambling suspension. In 1993, at the peak of his career, after winning 3 championships in a row, Michael Jordan retired.
The end of an era. Michael Jordan calls it quits. The thrill is gone, he says, and it's time for new challenges.
Everyone knows exactly what the circumstances are right now in terms of my decision not to play the game of basketball in the NBA. Doesn't mean I'm not going to play basketball somewhere else, but...
His reasoning behind it was burnout, but the day he retired, the NBA also had an active investigation into his gambling.
We're involved in a series of investigations on the subject.
Which was quietly closed 2 days later, stating he violated no rules. Despite a few sketchy facts like $108,000 of checks from Jordan that were found in a dead man's suitcase, and he had written a check to a drug trafficker, which he first lied about being loaned money before admitting that it was to get rid of a gambling debt. Which sounds far-fetched, like yes, it's fun to have theories about things like this, but I don't know if the league would really force Michael Jordan into retirement instead of suspending him for his gambling. Until you look at Terry Rozier.
Bringing the greatest of all time to his feet.
Terry Rozier was indicted on federal charges this year for a sports betting fraud.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. former, current NBA players and coaches. This is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states.
But the rumor is the league knew about this fraud years ago and decided to cover it up.
When all of a sudden there was hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in on Terry Rozier unders for a relatively meaningless game in March, involving the Charlotte Hornets, the sportsbooks caught it. They told the NBA right away, and guess what? The NBA, Rozier didn't play the rest of the season, and he had faked the injury, so it wasn't because of the injury. The NBA pulled him.
That's Brian Windhorst, one of ESPN's top insiders, breaking down exactly how the league tried avoiding this negative PR and controversy from Terry Rozier's gambling, which is exactly what they did with Michael Jordan. And then after a season and a half, Jordan came back, saying he wanted to compete again.
It came in a two-word statement, which is now just begging to have a Nike campaign built around it. Quote unquote, "I'm back." That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed.
But I believe Michael Jordan is probably the most competitive player of all time, and I don't think someone that competitive would quit after winning 3 championships in a row.
Are you satisfied, Michael? I mean, 3, that's enough, isn't it?
Enough for you?
No, for you.
No, it's never enough. It's never enough as long as you compete. You know, it's always great to win. That's why you compete. And I think, we're going to certainly try to do this for the 4th time. You know, the 3rd one was so much work. And with all the other things thrown in there from, the gambling, all the different controversy, just made it even more.
And this alludes to the idea that the NBA will do whatever it takes to push whichever narratives are best for the league.
You sure that's what you want? Yes, sir. If you say so.
Which brings us to David versus Goliath. This theory is that Michael Jordan was put on an easier path throughout his career. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that his career was handed to him. There is a reason that this is the LeBron versus Jordan debate. There's never been any 2 players that are as great as these 2, but the league needed and wanted Jordan to be this great. One great star to rule over the NBA as a reigning champion was the best possible thing to push the popularity of the league. There is a surprising amount of evidence to back this up, with examples ranging from refs showing him favoritism.
Hit to the go. Michael, I didn't see your hands on it, Michael. But I believe you. I saw one hand on it.
To other, much more nefarious ones, which we'll be getting into later on in the Iceberg. But the idea is that once LeBron showed up, this kind of story had already run its course. There had already been a career with the best player in the world on the best team, which couldn't be beaten. What they needed now was the best player in the world versus the best team of all time. A David versus Goliath story. And their plan worked.
No one person has ever shouldered more and gotten his team to the finals. The lack of help as far as consistently.
LeBron beating the 2016 Warriors, the team with the best regular season of all time, was one of the most viewed NBA games ever. The only games that had more views were both finals games of Jordan. But the point isn't for him to get more views. It's for the league to have a story to rival that of the great Michael Jordan. And if this theory is true, it does seem like that plan worked. Finishing off this layer, we talk about LeBron's younger start. LeBron was a much younger player. Jordan played in college and came into the league at 21.
The best high school player on the planet and the
LeBron came straight from high school and didn't have all the time to develop like Jordan did. LeBron was dragging his team to the finals at 22 years old, while Jordan wasn't able to get there until he was 27.
This is going to be your league in a little while, but I appreciate you giving us this year.
And speaking of being younger, LeBron was cooking Michael Jordan at 16 years old.
There's a story about you playing in an infamous pickup game with Michael Jordan when you were 16 years old.
Who guarded you?
Nobody. I was unguardable.
So he's coming into the gym. I'm like, all right, cool, I want to see what he got. Mm-hmm. He was cooking. Like, he was 15 or 16, posting,
get into the basket, and I'm like, this is going to be a huge issue. He could have went pro right then, honestly.
Yeah, really?
100%.
This is where the LeBron dunk entry comes from. A clip has been circulating online where supposedly LeBron is yamming the ball and dunking on Jordan. And after like 5 minutes of research, people were just spreading misinformation.
Last year, so it's like, you know.
It's actually this guy, Cedric Moody, dunking on Jordan, who didn't even end up playing in the league. But regardless, LeBron was still cooking these NBA players at 16. And who's to say he did or did not dunk on Mike, because we have no footage of the event. Entering the abyss with perhaps the most obscure entry on this iceberg being the conspiracy theory around Michael Jordan's purchase of the Charlotte Hornets.
When I bought the team 3 years ago, one of the things that I was very motivated about was...
This one was very difficult to find information on, but the theory is that Jordan, the most competitive man you will ever meet, purchased the team not to win, but to have some leverage in the league and take any opportunity to disrupt LeBron's legacy. This theory sounded incredibly crazy and far-fetched at first, but I still wanted to try and find some way that the Hornets have tried disrupting his legacy. My first thought was that maybe the Hornets would only focus on running specific defensive schemes just to mess with LeBron. But if that's what they were trying to do, they sure as hell did a terrible job, because LeBron has a 65-15 record against the Hornets throughout his career. But I kept searching because there has to be some validity to this theory. And that's when I found it. The way Michael Jordan disrupted LeBron's legacy as the owner of the Hornets was by drafting incredibly poorly to make other teams better.
Michael Jordan, you've owned the Hornets, the Bobcats, since I've been a fan, man. And every time I think you're about to do something like bad, you do something worse. We have drafted more busts than any franchise.
This dude took Michael Kidd-Gilchrist over players like Andre Drummond, Bradley Beal, and Damian Lillard, who not only became all-stars, but were also mocked higher than Michael Kidd-Gilchrist in the first place. Then he sent all-star Kemba Walker to the Celtics to join a rising team with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. And to top it all off, he traded future MVP and Finals MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on draft night for Miles Bridges and 2 second-round picks. So if you really think about it, maybe Jordan was just tanking with the Hornets to get a good draft pick, then trading those top players to teams that were already really good to try and stop LeBron from winning. And our final entry on this iceberg doesn't debate stats or accolades. It questions their validity and whether or not Jordan was ever that good to begin with. Most of you have probably already heard the legend of Wilt's 100-point game, which, despite speculation, was proven to be real, backed up by accounts from scorekeepers and audio recordings. But what if I told you some other basketball legends have stats that were proven to be fake? What if the season Michael Jordan won both MVP and Defensive Player of the Year was a complete fraud? Sports writer Tom Habistro, alongside other sports analysts, tracked Jordan's steals over 6 games from that same season. The recorded number of steals was 28, but after review, they only counted 12 steals. This includes a game against the Hawks where the team had 3 live ball turnovers, but Jordan had 4 steals. Steals only come from live ball turnovers. Seeing as how there were 3 live ball turnovers, it is literally impossible for Jordan to have had 4 steals. These discrepancies might also explain why Jordan's steals and blocks were inflated by 182% during home games. Scottie Pippen, Jordan's right-hand man, the Robin to his Batman, backs up these claims in his book Unguarded. Pippen says he would steal the ball, then tap it over to Jordan, and then Jordan would get credit for that steal. Granted, these two do have a history of beefing.
How many times did just you and Michael have dinner in Chicago? Chicago has a lot of great... Scotty, stop it. Scotty, stop it.
So if that's not enough for you, an old 2009 ESPN article perfectly describes the reasoning behind these inflated stats. There's a built-in conflict of interest. Home teams have invested fortunes in players and want them to look good, and they employ stat crews. And this same article features an interview from a former NBA scorekeeper who admitted that they were told to inflate stats, which is why players would have significantly more rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks at home games. This is probably the most damning evidence against Jordan because it's calling into question not only his accolades, but the integrity of the game itself. And this video was never about proving LeBron is the GOAT or tarnishing the GOAT status of Jordan. I made this only to explain the arguments in LeBron's favor. So I hope it didn't sound like I was just glazing LeBron the entire time. Maybe one day we'll do a Jordan GOAT Iceberg. But if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. It's the best way you can show support. We're at 10 subs right now. We're on the road to 100. We got a lot more videos coming out, so stay tuned for those. Anyways, yeah, hope you all are having a great day, and I will catch you all next time.